Hello and welcome to the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate podcast. I'm here with Rod Kuntz. This is Jim Riley. Thanks for tuning in. Rod, another week.
Oh, it's another week. Every week is a fun, new, fresh start.
The older I get, the faster time goes by, the more I'm involved with. But I'm having a great time with all these projects we're doing.
There's always something else it's amazing how much I get done. And when I look at it, I think there's so much left to do.
Yeah.
there's always more to do. And that keeps you fired up. You're never going to be done. I never want to be done.
The pile's always there, but that's why we talk about having your critical tasks for the day. You know, here's the things that you have to get done, right? Here's the things that you might have to get done, and here's the things you can push, but that creates that momentum towards completion. But you're right. There's always a new task.
There's always a new task, and there are always ripples, right? Mm-hmm. The other day, you and I were on a conference call, and I was sitting, because I work from home, I'm sitting at a desk in my dining area, and there's a knock on the door, and it's my brother-in-law who shows up from 550 miles away. He's, I'm in town, knocking on the door. And that put a damper on, the work I was doing.
Sure.
So things happen, and you just have to go with that ebb and flow of not just business, but the ebb and flow of life. Things happen. Major appliances break down. A kid gets hurt. You got to go to the emergency room. Things happen, and you deal with it. It's no big deal.
By the way, I didn't say this to you the other day when they got there, but I love those types of stories. And you're thinking, why? What's the big deal? I love those stories because I come from a state where people don't just show up. Montana, people show up and you're happy to see them. You open the door, and I've become that person now. When somebody's like, "Hey, I'm coming in this weekend," like, "Yeah, come on, I'll drop everything," right? Or you need help, I'm going to drop everything. That's what we do here in Montana, is we drop everything for another person, even if they just show up. That West Coast state, it's like, if you knocked on my door, I'd be like, "Why didn't you call? I'm super busy today." Or they wouldn't even show up because they know, like, "Oh, I can't just show up. We got to make an appointment." It's just right. the mentality, the mental shift. So after I got off the line with you, I'm like, how cool is that? People just showed up at his house, and you're thinking, this is how I live,
right.
Different ways.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? It's never too late to embrace a new way.
That's right. I hope that those other states change for the better. So speaking of change, we have had a massive week with our launch of our new Young Entrepreneur Syndicate platform, utilizing the Jadari technology that was created by Greg Anderson and Sean Whalen of Lion's Den, or Lions Not Sheep. They've been working together for a long time. Sean has had a network of members in his Lion's Den for the last 8 years, and he's had over 22,000 members go through that group. And what's so cool is that he took all that time and content and back-end sourcing to develop what we now get to take advantage of through the Jadari system by having this incredible platform that we've launched our group on. And I'm so excited about it. The press is all over the place. Our partner Rachel's pushed out. I've seen tons of news media coming through, and a lot of people are asking me about it and what we're doing. So, Rod, I know you're equally excited.
It's like being Orville and Wilbur Wright, right? So that's Sean and Greg. They start this thing, and they're literally making a new industry.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that we're going to have tens of thousands of passengers flying on in the future.
Yeah,
that's the future of what we're doing with Jadari, and I'm excited that we're a part of it. Number one, that we've made that choice, that decision, and moving that direction. And you're right, the buzz is there, the excitement is there.
Yeah. So let me walk through a couple of the benefits of this platform so you know what we're talking about. If you're familiar with the Young Entrepreneurs, we meet every Monday night. We do this on a Zoom call. And the reason why is that we talk about, compelling business stories, lessons that we've learned, dummy tax that I've paid type things. And then we open it up to a Q&A for our members. And usually that's a good 30-minute robust Q&A if people show up with their questions. Well, where do we go from there? In the past, we just had a website with some resources for members, which are still available. But with this new platform, it operates first and foremost like a Facebook group. You have your profile, you have your information, you have your URLs, whether that's your website, your social media handles, what you do. All these things go into a directory that other people can communicate with you. You can build literally a community of friends through our platform and the syndicate, which is our intention all along. And because it operates like a Facebook platform, you can post pictures of your kids or something that you're proud of, or a service that you're offering, or a thought of the day, a quote. Rod, you put your books that you've been reading and some values you got out of them. So you utilize that tool just like you would a Facebook. So, you can go to it, and it's fun to interact with people and learn about them that way. But also, we have what's called the Pages tab. Now, on the Pages tab is where you get some of this value from Rod and Rachel and myself collectively, I guess we're up to 80 years now of experience,
at least
40 of mine for sure. But book recommendations, things that we've read throughout our life that have made a tangible difference in our lives. I'll tell you right now, I'm reading a book called Dominate Your Market by Michael Peterson. I had him on my podcast show a week ago. I'm always learning. And what I learned through his book, not even our podcast interview, he sent me his book with a nice letter. Thank you, Michael. But what I'm learning through his book is some compelling lessons on how to build membership sites. Who knew that was in his book? I certainly didn't. So even with all my experience, I'm learning something from his book because of the outreach through my podcast, which comes back to our membership group, right? And that's where we say we're bringing relevant topics, information, resources to everybody, 3X, because each one of us, Rod, Rachel, and myself, are doing a lot of reading and bringing this back to the group. So we've got our book recommendations. We have our video library. Now, Rod and I have been doing this for over a year, every week. Every week we've talked about different topics, subjects, really kind of in a curriculum format. You can listen to any one of those videos that are all listed out by topic. If you're hurting somewhere in business, or you don't know, or you're looking for, it's there. I guarantee it. Right. What's like at least 52 episodes.
I think we're up to that at least.
At least, so, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of content there. And those are recordings of not only our curriculum portion, but then the Q&A. So you're going to get more than just the topic through the Q&A. Then we have our document library. And this is actually one of my favorite things on our back end, because these documents are things that we've produced that you can utilize now. You download them now for whatever that need is. So the first one that pops up is business plans. And there's a full drawn out extensive business plan. And then there's like a one sheet business plan. It's a template for you to build a business plan. Credit basics. Rod wrote this one about how do you establish credit. Credit is so important in a business. Something as simple as an NDA. You want to get involved with somebody in their business and like, yeah, well, let's sign an NDA. Do you have an attorney? You don't need an attorney. Take our NDA, personalize it, and use that. It's on our back end. Daily critical tasks, as well as your values worksheet. These are things that we talk about in our lessons of figuring out what your critical tasks are and figuring out your values. So as you build out your goals, which by the way, the next one is your top goals,
right?
Just tools. So this document library is one of my favorite things. Rod, I don't know if you saw this. I just dropped a document on there. It's virtual business etiquette. And it's basically how to show up to a Zoom call.
I did see that. And I appreciate that. And I'm telling you, I can't believe that this hasn't been circulated more widely before you came up with it, because there have been some pretty high profile people that have really messed up on the Zoom etiquette thing. Criminal, right? Criminal.
Seriously, I did this out of frustration for somebody else, not even for myself. I was at a Toastmasters meeting, and in Toastmasters, everybody gets involved. Well, one of the people that had to do an evaluation was on a Zoom. Okay. Now, she had a nice mic and she had good lighting, but what she didn't have was good etiquette. Her apparel was not necessarily appropriate, but distracting. She wasn't looking at the camera. She's looking sideways, and she was constantly like picking at her face, which was very distracting. But she's in her dirty room. Bed's not made, dirty clothes on the floor, mirrors got stuff hanging. Like, you're so distracted by everything going on in her background. Like, all you got to do is blur it out. Like, we've been doing this Zoom thing now for 3+ years. It's time, people, you get your, together,
right,
and show up professionally. Right. So that document I just dropped, you can go get a light, which we both have. I don't know where you got yours, but you can go get one at Lowe's or Home Depot for $19.
right.
And that'll just illuminate you. If you just had that and you blurred out your background, which is part of the Zoom package, you're 90% there. Right. So anyways, I love the document library. We do have our merchandise available on there. The notebook is my favorite item that we sell because I love notebooks, but we've got shirts and hats and mugs and different things like that. But then I suppose my second favorite thing on there is the task list, which we put 5 critical tasks. And you're like, well, why would I do your task? Well, these tasks are what we believe to be things that will improve your discipline and allow you to become that person that succeeds in what you attempt to do. And those tasks, I'll read them out, as gratitude, goal review, exercise, help someone, and either visualization or read a nonfiction book, 10 pages, right? So I think those are great habits that you can get into to develop the discipline to become successful. So, Rod, so far, what's your favorite part of the new platform? You can steal one of mine too.
All of it. Actually, my favorite part is the social connection.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when we are a social media, right, culture now. And so to be able to engage in a professional business way, but more personal, like LinkedIn, to me, it's almost, like looking at resumes and biographical and that sort of thing. And then you can go to somebody's Instagram or their Facebook page, and you may or may not get a glimpse into their life. But here is our membership, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a close-knit community that I get to share both business and personal in a concentrated, intentional way. And that's what builds community. That's what builds relationship. That's what, when you feel like you need to ask someone a hard question, you know them, and you know a little bit more about them. So you feel safer in that environment. And so I think the social aspect of where this platform is taking us is going to take us in a whole deeper, more intentional direction. And it's going to make us better people. And it's going to make us better business people because we're not just relying on ourselves. So I guess that's probably my favorite part of it. It's just looking at it in a different way. And this is from someone, you know me, Jim, who wasn't even on any social media 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so to say that this is something I look forward to is a pretty big jump.
Well, you just did yourself a favor. I had a different topic for our discussion because we haven't really got to the topic, and we'll be a little bit briefer on this. So I'm going to throw that topic away. And I just came up with a new topic based on what you said. And that is getting into the fight is the title. Getting into the fight. And what I mean by that is, like you just said, you weren't even on social media until 2 years ago. And I'm not saying that you have to be on social media to be in the fight, but you realized if you were going to work and play in this space that we're in now, helping others.
Right.
And I'm not talking about, your neighbors. I'm talking about a big community of people, because you and I established that there was some helplessness and hopelessness in our communities, in our state, and in our country, that we decided that we were going to reach a larger audience, right? The suicide rate in Montana was out of control. How do we reach a larger audience? And so you got into the fight through social media, right? I got into the fight through fine-tuning my message of wanting to help, through the support of you and I coming up with some direction here. And what really got me excited when you were talking is like, it feels good to get in the fight.
Yes.
to start having dialogue with people. Like you said, this platform is going to stimulate dialogue to be in that fight together, building a community. And then I started envisioning, so I'm going, well, I think I told you this, I'm going to New Jersey at the end of the month for this big conference called The Event New Jersey. And there's some great leaders there. They've been on my podcast, like Red Suit Realtor and Ryan Robbins. And we'll probably get some of the others. I'd love to get Ian Smith. He's the guy that owned the gym in New Jersey that they shut down and fined him all this money, but then he opened back up and he went to jail, you know? Yeah. Ian Smith will be there. So I've been going back a little bit forth with him on my Instagram. So I'm hoping to get him on my show, but I'm excited to not only be in the fight with you, Rod, here locally and in our platforms and on social media, which is a much larger reach, but actually getting on a plane, going to another state and growing our outreach.
Right.
You know, I'm feeling the momentum of my actions personally. Right. And I feel the momentum coming back full circle in the conversations that I'm having with others. It's almost like you get to rally around fight night. You know, and the cool thing is fight night continues to move to another night. And it's like, okay, well, fight night's here and fight night's there, you know, let's go get it. Right. I'm digging it.
Yeah.
You know?
Momentum builds momentum.
Yeah.
You know, and what starts that whole process is activity. Activity starts the momentum process going. And that's what this platform is. It's a place to start a new activity.
Yeah.
Right. So our current members get to start populating their profiles and their pages. And that activity is going to gain momentum, you know, with their business, with their connections, with mentorship. Right. It's not just the Jim and Rod show. This is a collective effort of like-minded people with shared values, with an intent to change the world for the better.
Yeah. Well, and I think the larger message here too, because it's not just about you and I and what we're doing. I think the other portion of this message is how do you get into the fight? What does the fight look like for you when it relates to, I gave this speech this week to a group, be comfortable being uncomfortable, right? And sometimes that means getting on social media for the first time ever, you know, like you did, or getting on a plane, not wanting to leave your wife and kids in Montana, which is heaven on earth, and going to New Jersey, which is probably the complete opposite. But, you know, what does that look like for you? And what fight do you want to get into to improve your business and what you're doing and what's going to make you a better person and push you closer to your goals? So I think get into the fight is a great topic and a great thing to consider how you're going to do that.
Well, you just reminded me too, when you talked about leaving your wife and daughters behind. Getting in the fight means that you're going to have to sacrifice something. You know, you don't go into battle without sacrificing something. Time away from family, your spare time, your free time. There's going to be a cost, right? And so you need to know that. When you go into business, if that's the fight you're going into, business, right? It's a battle.
Yeah.
And it's going to cost you something. It's going to cost you something, but it's worth it. You know, that's the other part of this message. There's a bigger end to all of it. It's not just about the next quarter balance sheet, right? If that's all you're focused on, you're focused on the wrong things. Right.
I'm glad you brought that up, because it's a reminder for me and probably a great lesson for others. And I've done this recently, and that's why I say it's a reminder, is I'm trying to speak to my kids with intent to teach them and show them and help them understand. Right. And that's in everything I do. So as I gear up for this trip, you know, sharing with them like, yeah, I'm going to go on this trip for work in a couple of weeks, and this is why. Right. Teach them with intent. So when the day arrives when I have to leave, my kids are going, hey, Dad, you know, go crush it out there and do what you got to, you know, they might reiterate some of the stories I told them leading up to why I'm going. And then while I'm gone, they understand why I'm gone. And when I get back, they can ask, hey, what'd you do? What'd you accomplish? And it'll have a lot more meaning than, oh, Dad left on another business trip. He just got back. Right. And being sad that I'm gone and not knowing why, but being intentional about teaching them the value of this absence, right? And the sacrifice and why it is a sacrifice. Last night, my wife was putting the kids down. It was 9:30, which is probably late for most parents, but that's our bedtime for our kids. And I was getting ready to go downstairs to the gym. So I kissed the girls goodnight. My daughter says, my eldest, she says, Daddy, I'm sorry you have to go down and work out right now. I said, oh, it's okay. You know, like I committed to a goal and this and that. She goes, yeah, I'm so proud of you. You're almost done with 75 hard again. Like she knows the commitment and why. And yet she also felt, sympathetic towards what I had to go do. But she wasn't like, oh, Dad, do you have to do that? Can't you put me to bed? Like she realizes how important it is to complete a task that we set a goal and a vision for, right? And that comes, like I said, it comes from the intent of teaching them, like this is why and how and the results we'll get, right? So it's kind of a cool moment for me thinking back on that.
Yeah, you just reminded me when I was in my heyday of network marketing, and I was doing business presentations, in front of large groups every week. I would bring one of my kids each week, and they would literally run the table, for signups where people would come in and get a name badge and that sort of thing. And they knew it was their night to go to work with Dad, but they got to work. They got to see me at work. They became a part of my work. So I wasn't just walking out the door and walking away and then coming back when they were already in bed. They got to experience what I was doing, and they got to be a part of it. And again, if your business is not involving your family, if they're disengaged from that, I think you're missing something.
Yeah.
They should know what we do and why. Those two things, not the details. They don't need to know how we do it and all that sort of thing yet, but they need to at least know that. Why are you doing it?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
what a compelling conversation. So let's cut it there. I think what a great week we've had between the Jadari platform, the successes, the discussions with our members, the direction that things are going, both for us personally and our businesses, as well as our membership and this podcast show. By the way, Rod, our numbers on this podcast show is caught up to the numbers on my other show. So clearly, people want to hear what you're saying. So no pressure for next week. We got to bring more content. Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll keep asking.
We'll keep
Give
asking
us your questions. What do you want to talk about? We'll talk. And you know what? It doesn't even have to be about business, does it? We'll say yes to anything. Ask us a question.
We'll talk about just about anything. Well, look, if you've enjoyed the show, please share it with a friend, repost it. As Rod just suggested, if you've got questions that you want us to answer on the air, we'd love to hear them. So send them in. You can send them right in through Instagram. You can direct message me or Rod, our info at whatever. Go to the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate as well if you're interested in our membership group. By the way, right now, because of this launch on our new platform, we are doing first month free, which is $100 value, $99 value. So if you're even considerate, you got nothing to lose. Jump in. First month's free. Doesn't get any better than that. And I will tell you, if you wanted to hire a business coach, it's going to cost you anywhere between $500 and $10,000. I've paid a number of times in between that. So if you want some coaching from previous CEOs and executives and entrepreneurs, you can get it right now for 1 month free. And then it's only $99 a month. So we'd love to have you. Rod, until next week, look forward to it.
You as well, Jim. Have a great week, everybody.